Good morning, Dana Serhan.
Hello, good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Well, I'm very glad to have you on the show. It's a subject we never really approached, and I'm glad we are because it somehow is still taboo. I hope it won't be for long. But we do need sex therapy from time to time. People do need that. They do need to be referred to someone like you without any kind of shame. And we're going to be talking about this job of yours. You're a sex therapist.
Yes.
You've studied in the States, I assume.
Yes, I did in Boston.
In Boston. And what made you come back to Lebanon?
Well, family and the need to change, I guess.
Okay, nothing to do with the fact that this country could be a ground for certain needs. No. It is in a way. I mean, I don't know if there are a lot of you.
No, there are not much, but there are a lot of people who want to change and want to do something about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, things are changing right now. It's getting much better.
Well, is there a community of sex therapists around?
No, but just professionals who are working in this field.
So, yeah, I've heard of a few.
Yeah, like you can find gynecologists who are interested in the sexual health and well-being. You can find there are like 2 other sexologists with different backgrounds. So there are a lot of people who, not much, but there are people who are kind of working on things right now. Mm-hmm. And hopefully things are going to start changing.
Okay. Well, let's define the job first of all. What do you guys do exactly?
So basically, there are, within this field, you find different people focusing on different tunnels, if you get what I mean. So what I do is based on psychology.
But do you get specialized in a certain area?
Yeah. So basically what you do is you do your undergrad and then you kind of specialize in whatever field. I specialized in relationships and sex therapy.
Okay.
So it's based on psychology and your emotional aspect and your mental health and everything related. So I don't just focus on the physical aspects.
So what are the options actually for undergrads?
Psychology, medicine, anything related within this field. Family therapy, any marriage and family therapy, any of that.
Okay. Are you considered just therapists or sort of doctors? Are you allowed to prescribe medications?
No,
You're
these
not.
are psychiatrists.
Okay.
So psychiatrists, I have a colleague of mine who's a psychiatrist who has specialized in clinical sexology, for instance. He can prescribe medication, but it's always advised to kind of collaborate with a psychologist to kind of work on both ends. Like you're taking the medication and you're kind of changing.
You need to work as a team anyway.
Exactly. So it's not just like you take something and then it comes back when you're done.
So when do people come to see you?
Oh, that's a very good question. They come to see me when there are a lot of, when there are relational aspects of problems in the relationship or problems in the bedroom. So outside and in the bedroom. In and out.
Well, one affecting the other, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Right. Also, if you're single, I mean, you have body image issues, you have past experiences that you're not comfortable with. You know, maybe you're just curious and you want to know you want to answer some questions. Maybe you want to spice up your relationship after a few years of, being together and the routine takes over. Maybe there's...
And that aspect falls under therapy, sexual...
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Okay.
It depends on who you're going to. So if you're going to a psychologist focused on that, specialized in couples and sex therapy, yes, this is what we do. And you can also have, what else? Pain during intercourse, which I hear a lot.
Yeah.
From both sexes.
And women usually have a problem talking about this.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Because of the taboo and the shame and the guilt. And maybe they don't know, some people don't know that it's not okay to feel pain.
Yeah. Well, some don't actually. It's true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's like a previous step before coming to you is the acknowledgement of the problem.
Exactly.
And how do you get people to do that?
Awareness, education. I'm guessing the best...
I've seen a few billboards lately.
Yeah.
And I was amazed. I said, what a funny coincidence. We're going to be talking about the subject and I see these billboards.
Exactly. I mean, people are talking more and more about it. I'm pretty sure that word of mouth, I've seen that word of mouth is the easiest and fastest way to kind of bring more awareness, but you just want to make sure that the information is correct. But yeah, I mean, step by step.
Well, can we just list, if that would be possible, the most recurrent problems you encounter in your job?
I mean, you mean the concerns, what they come for?
Yeah.
Affairs, pain during intercourse, there's a lack of desire after a few years of being together. What else? Sexual. So it's ranging from sexual dysfunctions to trauma, past trauma, to, we want to spice things up.
Okay. I want to dwell just a little bit on something that we all go through if we're in a long-term relationship, and it's called lack of desire.
Yeah.
Well, is there a remedy, or is it just a natural process in the end?
I think it takes, the desire fades away when you stop working on it. And people go into...
But working on it is a word that you find in books. How do you actually work on it in real life?
So basically, what we think happens in the beginning of a relationship is things are very spontaneous. I always hear that. The desire was there, there was passion, but then it fades. But if you look at it through the details, you find that they stop, and it's very common, by the way, we all do that. I do that sometimes. You stop focusing on details of whatever used to, for instance, used to take care of yourself. I don't mean physically. I mean the small things. You put effort and energy and thought into it in the beginning that you stop doing afterwards. And even if you think, it used to come spontaneously, and this is what we mean by spontaneous.
That's what I meant. It's part of the process. It's part of being comfortable with the other person.
Exactly.
So you stop doing, putting in effort.
Exactly.
And it's good not to have an effort to provide.
It's true. You do want to feel like you are comfortable, and you want to, lay back sometimes with your partner and just don't do anything, no effort whatsoever. Especially when we sometimes call this partner home, right? So this is where you go and just unwind. But then with time, you stop having that space to experiment together, to try new things, to look forward to meet halfway, because that person is there. It's taken for granted, kind of.
So if I follow you, there's always this part of comfort zone that one should withhold.
Yes,
in a sense.
Exactly. It's a paradox. You need to manage comfort with mystery and adventure, with with love. You need both.
Okay.
And for a relationship to work, it's kind of like balancing. It's like on a bicycle. You kind of have to balance both sides.
Yeah, what you see very often is actually two people starting to do things separately. Yeah. Does this actually lead to separate ways in the end?
That is a very good question, because it's very tricky. Sometimes you want to do things alone.
Yeah, because you need your space,
your
freedom, and you don't have to have the same tastes all the time.
Exactly. And you do need to miss each other. You need that autonomy. But at the same time, too much distance is not good, right? You kind of disconnect from that person.
Because people take it for granted that it's okay to do things that one likes.
Exactly.
And that the other doesn't share.
Exactly. And it is okay. At some point...
Yeah, for a while, but not always.
I think the whole point for you is to feel kind of connected and in sync, even if you're in there's a healthy distance between you. Yeah. There's still eye-to-eye contact. If you're in a room, for example, you're in a room with your partner, and you don't have to be stuck together in the same chair, for instance. Each one would be talking to different groups of people, but you still look at each other and give that, you'd have eye contact, sexy eye contact. But you're both doing separate things on your own. That could be translated into every day. So you could be doing your own thing, but you're checking in every once in a while. You're kind of that anticipation, that sexiness that happens between two people only.
Well, you see, it's quite the opposite very often. It's
exactly.
What a relief. She's not next to me. He's not next to me. I'm free.
Exactly.
But how do you get about this need for freedom while you're in a couple?
That is a management you need to do. Everyone needs to do.
I'm being the patient. So what would you tell me?
Well, let's go back to how you're going through daily life. If you were feeling relieved that your partner's not there, why are you...
Isn't it a sign?
Yes. This is where you go beyond the bedroom, outside the bedroom. Is there a lot of enmeshment or diffusion? Is there separate? Is there a healthy space? So you need to. There are a few things that you need to do during the day that would help. And most people kind of tell me, I don't feel like doing this after 10 years or after 25 years. I mean,
it's kind of normal.
Yeah, but that's.
Would you want your partner 30 years later? I mean, how can you?
It's that effort that's where the want comes and the need. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to do that, but at the same time you kind of have to. But you're like, I don't want to work on my marriage. I want to work on other stuff during the day.
Yeah, it's not nice to think that you need to work on sex.
Yeah. Maybe let's call it play then.
Okay.
You need to play with sex.
Okay, we're gonna try playing with sex. Okay, so we're talking about the definition of relationships here, but more seriously, 1 of 3 marriages, I think, as an average, ends up in divorce.
Yes.
Today. How do you explain that?
Well, unfortunately, the rates are very high. I mean, there are different theories behind that. But
it doesn't all have to do with sex, I know.
No, yeah.
But since you work on relationships as well, this is why I'm asking you the question.
What I presume is there are different reasons why people get married, and
are there wrong reasons why people get married?
A lot of times, especially in our culture, where there's a lot of, pressure exactly to get married, to get on with it. People end up getting married for the wrong reasons. They get married for guilt. They get married for, social pressure. It's about time. The time is ticking. They get married.
Oh, the biological time kicks.
Yes, exactly.
And for women.
Exactly. And sometimes what you need at a certain age, you don't need at another age. The trick is to find someone you want to, change with or mold with. But yeah, so they get married for the wrong reasons. Or if they do get married for the right reasons, they are unable to deal, they don't know the tools and the resources to handle their marriage. And this is where premarital counseling or marital counseling happens.
Well, how often does it work, to be very honest? How often can you save a marriage?
That's a very good question. Unfortunately, the longer you wait, the less the
chances are.
Yeah, exactly. So most people come because of the taboo. Most people come like years down the line, and it's a bit too late. But if they'd come like when the problem arises, or actually right before it, for prevention instead of treatment, it would have it would have been great. So yeah.
Well, and from looking around me, I'd say that the 50 and above have a hard time coming to you, and I see that the younger people are actually going to sex therapists. Am I wrong?
Surprisingly, no, that's not true. Actually, the older generation have kind of they've thrown out all these taboos and norms because they realize that it's not working. So they come to me with a much more open-minded. They don't care about society. They've realized it doesn't work.
Well, there's a certain freedom linked to age, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're open to change. Whereas the younger generation, I was surprised to find that they're much more not stubborn, but they hold on to, they don't question ideologies, they don't question norms, they don't question what's healthy and what's not.
Okay, one of the recurrent problems, I imagine, with young guys would be premature ejaculation. Do they consult?
Yes.
They do?
Yes, it's getting better.
It's getting better?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something normal that they all go through at some point in time, or not necessarily?
It is normal every once in a while. It's very normal. But if it's repetitive...
I mean, when they're young.
Yeah. I mean, it is normal if it's just every once in a while. But if it's repetitive and it's affecting the relationship, the other partner or him... it would be, there's no shame in that he should definitely come.
It's something to be addressed.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It could be very easy.
Okay. Another issue that comes back quite often is linked to menopause.
Yeah.
And desire. And I don't know how much this is a prejudice and how much this is true. And is it because women go through menopause, or that they're actually bored in their marriage or relationship, that they tend to say, well, I'm going through menopause, so forget about sex?
It's both. It's in and out of the bedroom. If there are hormonal changes. There's a bit of dryness down there. There are a lot of changes in the body. And if you have a stressful life, and if you don't have a very good relationship with your partner, and he's not very supportive, it's not going to help, right? You want a supportive environment. You want to be healthy. You want to go through that phase very comfortably. It's like puberty, but no one's talking about it. So all these changes, and no one knows what to do with it, right? And the symptoms start 5 years before anyway. So it's like a pile up of things. And if the relationship is not going very well, it's not likely to, there's not going to be sex there.
Okay, I asked you the question previously, but you've been working here for 6 years now.
Yes.
What are the problems you've had to deal with most often?
Personally?
No, not personally. Your patients.
Professionally. Yeah, patients. Okay. Resistance.
Resistance
to therapy, to the subjects, to taboo.
But once they've come to you.
Oh no, not everyone that comes to me is ready for therapy. Some people come just because
Out of curiosity, just to find out what's wrong.
Yeah, and then they're just like, I did my part, I came.
Okay.
I want a magic pill.
Well, often it's just triggered by the partner, I
Exactly.
imagine.
Exactly. So this is where therapy doesn't work, obviously. But
would you recommend that they always come together as a couple, or not necessarily?
I do. Obviously, the more supportive they both are, the better. But given where we are in our society, some partners don't want that. So I'd advise people to come, whether alone or with a partner.
Is this century actually promoting more sexual or more relationship problems? Or it has always been there, but not pointed as such?
Well, things are open and spoken about right now. So it's people are more aware of problems, and modern relationships are kind of harder, given the technology, given all these applications, and given all these tools that people can use now. So it is a bit harder to be in a relationship, but I think there has always been issues and problems and challenges, but people didn't used to talk about it before.
But they're more or less the same.
Yeah, but it's a bit harder now because of the exposure of technology. Things are changing, and relationships change with time as well. Norms change, relational norms change, and it's not like it used to be, unfortunately. Like, there are things that are harder on people.
Definitely, there's more pressure.
Yes.
From the day-to-day life anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, how about homosexuality?
Yes.
Do people come to you?
Yeah. People come to me because, well, it depends. I have different, people come to me because they're confused, and, I help support them by telling them that it's okay, whatever. There is no such thing as mental illnesses when it comes to homosexuality. But there are other people who come to me because they think that I can change a sexual orientation, and this is where I kind of...
Willingly? You're talking about an individual coming to you willingly?
No.
Or pushed by the family?
They're pushed by the family. And this is where, they leave.
Okay.
Without anything.
But what can you do to help homosexual people, for instance, deal with the fact that they have to deny it to their own family?
Support, empowerment.
Well, peer support obviously.
Peer support, exactly. Peer support, friends. We at least try to maintain a supportive environment that person can feel, that he or she belongs somewhere.
Have you ever been able, for instance, to solve a problem by getting the parents to come with the person and talk about it?
Yes, but that was like an exception. It wasn't.
So it's still very complicated.
Very complicated, and parents have a very hard time dealing with children who are not straight. And I had, but that was very recent actually. So things are changing, I think. I'm hoping actually. The mother had a very hard time, but she kind of had to accept that.
Was it a girl or a boy, for instance? Mothers deal better with a boy.
Yeah, with a boy.
So it's always the opposite sex.
Exactly.
Okay, being in this profession, how often do people actually get protection, especially young ones?
Not as much as they should.
Not as much as they should.
And they don't test themselves out as much as they should.
Well, we don't have such a high rate, I imagine, but still it's there.
For testing?
No, for diseases.
Oh yeah, it is there. No, it is there, but people don't talk about it because there's still a lot of shame around diseases and viruses and sexually transmitted STDs and STIs and all that, which should not, because this is what's preventing people from going to test themselves, from talking about it, and it could be very toned. It could be much simpler than that.
You've been working here for 6 years. How would you assess the situation?
All I can say is it's getting better. I'm hoping, but people are talking about it now.
But you're definitely needed around.
Yeah. I mean, but if you compare 4 years ago, it was much more difficult. There were more attacks regarding this subject than now.
On you personally, you mean?
On the profession, yeah.
On the profession as such. So what would your recommendations be for almost everyone that's listening to us this morning?
If you're going through something which is totally normal, come talk about it. There's nothing wrong with that. We all need that at some certain point in our lives. It's like if you're going to the gym, you want a trainer to kind of guide you. This is what we do. It is totally normal. That's all I can say.
Okay, where does abnormal start? And where does normal stops?
As long as you're not affecting, whatever behavior that is, if it's not affecting your daily life or others, it's within the norm. I mean, with assessments, obviously you need to see what's a dysfunction and not. But as long as it's not affecting your daily life or others around you, it's not technically a dysfunction.
Okay, since we are talking about relationships, is there a frequency in sexual activity that actually relates to a healthy vitality in the couple?
I get that question a lot.
You do?
Yeah. It's like, what's normal?
Yeah, but I mean, is there something normal?
No,
is there a healthy frequency, or is it just very personal?
It's very personal.
Okay, so it's okay to have sex once every 3 months if that's the rhythm of the couple.
Exactly. If they're happy and satisfied, that's okay.
Provided both of them are.
Exactly. If they want to have sex every day, that's also okay if both of them are okay with that.
So what happens when one is not okay with it?
That's when it's very common, by the way.
It is very common. That's why I'm asking you the question.
One person has more or less libido than the other. They're going to have to, there are ways to kind of deal with that in therapy. It's like they're either going to have to find a middle ground, or they're going to have to kind of give and take in other ways that are not related to the penetration in itself. So more foreplay, more anticipation, more outside activities that are related to the sexual, to sex, that the other person would not feel rejected, but at the same time, there's no pressure to have sex every single time.
Okay. Well, you need to convince a few people.
Yeah. A lot of people, actually.
A lot of people. Dana Serhan, I don't know if you would like to say the last few words about the profession or when to come to you. I mean, you made it very clear, but why should people come to you?
To have better sex and to
be happier.
Exactly.
Just to be happier.
The happy hormones.
Okay. Dana Serhan, there was another question I wanted to ask you, and it concerned the transsexuals. We're talking a lot about this in the world as such.
Yes.
And we've seen a few on our streets as well. And we're talking about public places devoted to transsexuals. This is like the third gender. Exactly. We're talking about where are we at?
Well, there's still a lot of taboo around this topic, and transsexuals face a lot of problems and challenges in society, even more than the rest of the genders and the sexes. I'm hoping that I mean, we still need to work on resources and tools and empowerment and all of that. But like you said, we are seeing more and more openness and more discussions, and social media is helping in that area in specific.
Okay, let's talk about being a transsexual to begin with. How does it start? Where does it come from? Does it stem from a problem? Are you born with an issue? How does it happen?
Well, there are a lot of theories around that, but I do believe that this is genetic.
Biological.
Yes, it's biological. And the person wants to kind of...
So it's hormonal. You're born with more female hormones.
I mean, yeah, and then the person does not feel that they are in the right
body.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where things change.
Okay.
To each their personal case, obviously. And this is where adulthood comes in, and either the person.
Do every single person go through an operation, a surgery, for a change of sex necessarily?
Yeah, you have there are different. There's a transsexuals who have to go through an operation, or in the process of, and then there are cross-dressers who do not go through an operation, but do kind of tend to go to another wardrobe or another. They do feel like they are in the not the right body. There's homosexuality. There's bisexuality. There is transsexuals. There's cross-dressers. There are people who do not define themselves as any gender.
What does that mean?
What this is not. They don't see themselves in any gender or role.
But they gotta fit someplace.
Sorry?
They gotta fit someplace.
Yeah, they do. But this is where people are trying to find their own gender on its own.
So what do they do to find this own gender?
People are recognizing them right now as their own, if you want, as their own, as another category. That's why it's the LGBTQ plus. There's the lesbians, gay, bisexual, queer, and then plus. Transsexuals, LGBTQ, queer, and then plus. So whatever is added. Is
the world getting a bit more complicated than it used to? We always had these issues before.
It might sound complicated, but I think it's being more open and welcoming to other people who cannot relate to certain...
But it's always been there.
Yeah.
It's always been there.
Yeah, it's always been there.
Okay. So do you see a lot of transsexuals coming to you then?
No, not as much as I'd love to. But again, I do know a colleague of mine who sees a lot of transsexuals. So there are a lot of people who are trying to work with the community.
And I imagine that in terms of family, this must be even harder than just being a homosexual.
Exactly. There's another added challenge to that.
So what do you say to the parents?
Acceptance, breaking down taboos, fears. Most parents just don't want their kids to be bullied, or they don't want them to kind of go through that. They know how hard it is to go through that society. So this is more of what they are afraid of, rather than I can't accept my kid. They'd love their children, but there are a lot of challenges that they go through, and parents are aware of that.
But in the end, is it a happy ending usually, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, not always.
More often, it's not a happy ending.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Well, let's hope this third gender will have a better life, and that's one of the reasons why we're going to end up this conversation with this song. It's a French song, but it's talking about the third gender. It's called Troisième Sexe. Indochine, thank you. Thank you a lot, Dana Serhan, and hope to see you around. Bye-bye.